Have you ever played it safe, only to watch someone else take a shot and score a huge reward? Or have you ever clung to a bad investment, a dead-end job, or a toxic relationship for way too long, because the idea of letting go just felt too painful? What if I told you the part of your brain that's supposed to protect you is actually the very thing holding you back? What if it's secretly keeping you poor, anxious, and stuck in a loop? It sounds bananas, but it's true. Your brain is running on ancient software, a prehistoric fear response built for a world of saber-toothed tigers and rival tribes. That wiring was perfect for survival back then, but it's dangerously outdated for navigating the modern world of stock markets, career moves, and complex opportunities. It makes you blow small, flashy threats way out of proportion while you completely miss the quiet, creeping dangers and the massive, life-changing opportunities right in front of your face. This isn't some personal failing, it's a universal human bug. Our brains are hardwired with cognitive biases, mental shortcuts that feel right, but lead to totally irrational judgments and terrible decisions. Today, we're going to expose the 3 biggest lies your brain tells you about risk. We'll break down how these ancient mental glitches sabotage your money, your career, and your growth. And most importantly, I'm going to give you a practical playbook to start making choices based on reality, not on outdated anxiety. Because once you understand the lies, you can finally start telling yourself the truth. Lie 1. Losing is so awful, you have to avoid it at any cost. Loss aversion. The first and most powerful lie is that the sting of a loss is way worse than the joy of an equal gain. This is a famous cognitive bias called loss aversion. The psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky discovered that for most of us, the psychological pain of losing $100 is more than twice as powerful as the happiness from finding $100.
Your brain isn't just trying to win, it's desperately trying not to lose.
This ancient safety switch makes total sense if you're a caveman. Losing your only spear is a catastrophe. Finding a second one is just a nice bonus. But in today's world, this exact thinking is financially devastating. Here's how it sabotages you. Imagine you own 2 stocks. Stock A is up $1,000, stock B is down $1,000. Logic says you should evaluate them based on their future potential, right?
But loss aversion hijacks your brain. Most people are itching to sell the winner, stock A, to lock in that good feeling, while they hold on to the loser, stock B, praying it'll bounce back. They tell themselves, it's not a real loss until I sell. This is the disposition effect, and it's a classic symptom of loss aversion. The problem is, this feeling-based decision is often the exact opposite of the smart one. You end up selling a promising asset that could keep growing and clinging to a failing one that just keeps draining your wealth. This isn't just about stocks. It's why people stay in jobs they hate. The fear of losing that steady, miserable paycheck feels more real than the potential joy of finding a career they love. It's why entrepreneurs burn through their life savings on a failing business, throwing good money after bad because admitting the loss is just too painful. So how do you fight back against a bug that's hardwired into your brain? You replace emotional guesswork with simple, rules-based decisions. Before you ever invest $1, start a project, or take a new job, you need to define your exit strategy in advance. For an investor, this means setting clear if-then rules. For example, if this stock drops 15% below my purchase price, then I sell it. Period. No exceptions. You make this rule when you're calm and logical, and it saves you from the panic and bad storytelling your brain creates in the heat of the moment. You can do the same for taking profits. If this stock doubles, then I will sell half to lock in my original investment. For your career, it means defining what losing looks like ahead of time. You might decide, if I go 2 years without a promotion or learning a major new skill, then I will actively start my job search. By creating these rules, you're taking your emotional future self out of the driver's seat. You're no longer making a gut decision clouded by fear. You are simply executing a plan your rational, past self made for you.
You have to force logic into a place your brain wants to run on pure emotion. It's not easy, but it's the only way to stop loss aversion from costing you your future.
Lie 2. If it's easy to imagine, it must be a huge risk. The availability heuristic. The second lie your brain whispers is that the easier something is to remember, the more likely it is to happen.
This shortcut is called the availability heuristic.
Our brains aren't statisticians, they're storytellers.
And dramatic, vivid, and recent stories stick in our heads, tricking us into believing they're far more common than they are.
Think about it. What's more dangerous, flying or driving? Statistically, it's not even a contest.
According to the National Safety Council, your lifetime odds of dying in a car crash are about 1 in 93.
Yet, for commercial air travel, the risk is so low that some sources say it's too small to calculate. Millions of people have a genuine fear of flying while they hop into a car every single day without a second thought.
Why? Because when a plane crashes, it's a massive, horrifying international news story. We see terrifying images on a 24/7 loop. Car crashes, however, happen so often they're just local news noise.
The dramatic plane crash is highly available in our memory, so our brain jacks up its probability. We're not afraid of what's most likely to kill us. We're afraid of what's most cinematic. This bias messes with our risk perception everywhere. We freak out about shark attacks, of which there were just 69 unprovoked cases worldwide in 2023. But we're careless about sun exposure, a far deadlier risk. In finance, investors who see scary headlines about a market crash panic sell everything, convinced another one is right around the corner.
Meanwhile, they ignore the much more certain and silent risk of inflation slowly eating their savings in a safe bank account.
The dramatic event screams danger, while the slow, boring risk just whispers.
The availability heuristic keeps you obsessed with the wrong threats. It makes you play small, not because the world is actually that dangerous, but because the scariest stories are the easiest to remember. So how do we escape this mental movie theater?
You have to become a deliberate and kind of boring statistician.
Instead of running on feelings and headlines, you must actively hunt down objective data.
If you're scared of flying, don't just replay crash documentaries in your head. Look up the actual safety data.
Compare the millions of flights per day to the number of incidents. The raw numbers are far less frightening than the images your brain conjures up.
If you're thinking of starting a business, don't just fixate on the glamorous stories of billion-dollar unicorns.
That's survivorship bias, a close cousin of this heuristic.
You have to, intentionally, research the failure rates. Knowing that most startups fail isn't meant to crush your dreams, it's meant to prepare you.
What were the common reasons they failed? Cash flow? Bad marketing? By studying the failures, you learn the traps to avoid, giving you a much better shot at success than just mimicking the survivors.
Anytime you feel a powerful gut-level fear about a risk, just pause and ask, is this feeling based on a vivid memory or a hard statistic? Am I reacting to a story or to reality? Force yourself to find the real numbers. It's the best way to turn down the volume on the scary movies playing in your head. We're about to get to the third and most sneaky lie your brain tells you. The one that quietly strangles your ability to learn and adapt. But first, if you're getting value from this and seeing these patterns in your own thinking, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. My whole goal here is to give you the tools to think more clearly and take back control of your life. And by subscribing, you won't miss what's coming next. Lie number 3. You're right. Now go find proof that you're right. Confirmation bias. This final lie is maybe the most dangerous of all because it dresses up as intelligence. It's that little voice in your head that says, I've got a good feeling about this, and then immediately sends you on a mission to find every single piece of evidence that proves that feeling correct. This is confirmation bias, the natural human tendency to search for, favor, and remember information that confirms what you already believe, while actively ignoring or discrediting anything that contradicts it. Our brain just wants to be right.
We get a little dopamine hit every time our beliefs get validated. But this craving for validation makes us terrible scientists of our own lives. We don't seek the truth, we seek agreement. In the world of investing and business, this is a recipe for total disaster. An entrepreneur falls in love with their million-dollar idea. They do market research by asking their friends and family leading questions, basically fishing for compliments. They hear 10 people say the idea is genius and one person say it has a fatal flaw. Who do they listen to? The 10 people who confirmed their bias. They write off the critic as an outlier, a hater, or someone who just doesn't get it. They're so busy looking for a green light that they drive right past all the stop signs. Investors do this constantly. They decide they like a stock, and suddenly their entire feed is filled with articles and videos praising that company. They'll conveniently ignore the terrible earnings report or the new competitor that's eating their lunch because that information creates uncomfortable cognitive dissonance. They build themselves a cozy echo chamber that reinforces their initial decision right up until the moment it all comes crashing down. Confirmation bias doesn't just lose you money, it stops you from growing. If you only ever look for information you already agree with, you never learn. You get trapped in a feedback loop of your own opinions, becoming more and more convinced of your own brilliance while your blind spots get bigger and bigger. So how do you shatter the echo chamber? You have to actively and intentionally try to prove yourself wrong. The world's best investors and thinkers use this as a core strategy. Before making a big decision, they don't just ask, "What are the reasons this will work?" They spend most of their time asking, "What are the strongest arguments for why this is a terrible idea?" One powerful technique is the pre-mortem. Imagine it's a year from now, and your big project or investment has failed spectacularly. Now, write the history of how it failed. What went wrong? What signs did you miss? This exercise forces your brain to step outside its optimistic bubble and start looking for the flaws it was trying to hide from you. Another great strategy is to officially appoint a devil's advocate on your team or ask a trusted, skeptical friend to play the role. Their only job is to challenge your assumptions and argue against your decision as hard as they can. Your goal isn't to win the debate, it's to fully understand their perspective. If you can't defeat the strongest argument against your idea, then your idea isn't strong enough yet. Your brain isn't your enemy, but it is a flawed instrument. It's running on ancient software that is not designed for the complex, opportunity-rich world we find ourselves in. It lies to you about risk, not out of malice, but out of a deeply misguided attempt to keep you safe. It tells you that losses are catastrophes to be avoided at all costs, which makes you cling to failure and run from growth. That's loss aversion. It tells you that vivid, dramatic stories are the most urgent threats, making you anxious about the wrong things while you ignore the real, silent dangers. That's the availability heuristic. And it tells you that you're already right, trapping you in an echo chamber of your own making that stops you from learning and adapting. That's confirmation bias. But here's the good news. These biases only have power over you when they operate in the dark. The moment you shine a light on them, the moment you become aware, you start to take that power back. Awareness is the first step, deliberate action is the second. You fight loss aversion by making rules before your emotions can get in the way. You fight the availability heuristic by looking for statistics instead of just trusting stories. And you fight confirmation bias by actively and relentlessly trying to prove yourself wrong. This isn't a one-and-done fix. It is a lifelong practice of questioning your own instincts, challenging your assumptions, and choosing logic over fear. But every time you do it, you get one step closer to making decisions based on the world as it actually is, not the distorted picture your anxious brain is showing you. You start to see the incredible opportunities that fear was blinding you to, and you begin building a life and a bank account based on courage and clarity.